What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Average Joe Dividends YouTube channel. In this video, M1 did the stock picks for me based upon my current allocations. And what we're looking at right now, this is my M1 taxable stock brokerage account, my Average Joe Dividends portfolio. This is about 15% of my current net worth. If you can see, we've just gone over the $265,000 mark. The markets are live, so we could go even higher, or we could drop into the 264 realm. But we can see over the last year, though, that this portfolio, as we go to the right, has gone up for the most part. We can see a year ago, we were right about the $201,000 mark. We even dipped below into the 190s for a little while. So we had a drop there and a nice climb to March 2024. Then we had another drop in mid-April, another nice climb all the way up to July, and then August had a dip there, and then another climb to the end of August, and then we recently had a dip in the first week of September. But you can see there were a couple drops here, and these are tough when you're an investor because you'll see the value of your portfolio drop. You start doubting yourself a little bit, or maybe even what you're invested in. But I've seen these, a lot of these, I've seen much bigger drops. I've been an investor since really the mid-90s when I began my career. In 1996, that's when I kind of had my first job after college, and that's when I opened up a 401k and began investing. So I've seen, the Y2K bust, and then we had 2008, 2009, the Great Recession, and we've had COVID. And so I've been through a couple of these, and these don't really alarm me. They're not fun though to see these drops, but trust me, this is when you really even want to invest even more if you have it, because you're buying at a discount. So we can see the the starting value a year ago, the ending value, adding over $60,000 to the portfolio. And here's the dividends that were paid out. This is kind of like a part-time paycheck. And here, 46,000 of it was due to market gains. And as I mentioned before, my $100 deposit is going to be based upon my allocations. You can see here what's underweighted and what's overweighted. So I guess the dividend portfolio is where the $100 went, because it's 0.4% underallocated compared to 0.3% for the ETFs. And of course, the 12 more dividends, that is overweighted. So we'll jump into the activity log, and we see there's 4 buys, but 2 of these are going to be dividend reinvestments, or DRIPs. So Lockheed Martin and Waste Management are going to buy fractionals of those. I'll show you those, as well as looks like there are 2 buys, and we'll see what that $100 went to. And we're also going to see the change in my dividend income with the 2 DRIPs, as well as the $100 deposit. And we can see first up, Amgen is where most of the $100 went to, so $67.58 went there. Lockheed, the $4.96, that's a dividend drip, as well as Waste Management, the $7.04. And then Microsoft was $32.42. And I'll show you the fractional shares of all of these real quick. And so with Amgen, I bought 0.21081 of a share, so about 1/5 of a share for Amgen. And then we'll go back in here. And then Lockheed is going to buy a tiny fraction, because the share price of Lockheed is at almost $600. So that $4.96, while it's nothing, it didn't really buy a whole lot, but it will move the needle a little bit. So it was 0.00852 of a share, not even 1% of a share. Go back in here and we'll check out Waste Management, and then the quantity was 0.03421. So about 3% of a share for Waste Management. And then Microsoft was where the other portion of my $100 went to, and that bought 0.0756 of a share, so about 7.5% of a share there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over to my Google Doc spreadsheet, and this tracks all the positions that are in my portfolio. and we can see I have company, ticker symbol, share price using a simple Google Finance function to pull that. So these numbers are live. You're going to see these changing periodically. And here's the average share price that I've bought into. And then here's the current shares. And again, those fractionals are going to add into those positions, the 4 positions where I did 2 drips and 2 buys. So we're going to see those change. And then we can see the market value, the cost basis, my gain or loss in each of these positions. And here's that gain or loss in a percentage. And anything over 100% means I've more than doubled my money. And then dividend per share, these are all quarterly except for my 2 monthly pairs, which are Realty Income and BST. We can see the current yield. If I were to buy more shares, the current yield is expressed here. Here's the yield on my cost. You can see like Exxon's a really good example of when buying lower can pay off for your yield on cost. I bought most of my shares in the 40s with Exxon. It's at 116 and change. So that's my yield on cost, 8.22%. And anything over 5% will be in green. And anything over 25% here on the gain or loss is expressed in green. Anything dividend-wise that's over the $10 mark will be in green. I just crossed that with Procter & Gamble last week, so we're at $10.04. That's why it's in green. So anything below, anything $9.99 and below will be in white. And we can see the pay date. Everything is arranged by pay date because I want to see when I'm going to get my dividends. And here's the dividends I've received so far. And the sum is $255.85 for the month. And I have a lot more dividends to go here. Actually, tomorrow is going to be the big pay date for me. Even though today is the 30th, M1 has a 1-day delay. So all these dividends are going to drop in. You can see some of the big ones here for SCHD and BST. And make sure you subscribe to the channel so you will see proof that I received all of these dividends. And I'll go into the M1 log and show you these dividends rolling in, and we'll get a total on these dividends as well. We can see the total dividends paid. You can see like for positions like SCHD and BST, that's a lot of money so far I've received in dividends. And I also track the increase in dividends, and we're expecting a dividend increase with Starbucks. I thought they're going to announce it either on Friday or today. They haven't done so yet. We'll see if they can match that 8% like they did last year. But I'm predicting more of like a 4 or 5%. So let me know in the comments below what you think Starbucks is going to do for their dividend increase, or whether they'll increase it at all. And so I put the percentage here. You can see that, and then the likely month that they announce their dividends. So we'll scroll down here, and we can see I have the color key, everything showing we're in the dark green, so we're in the last month of the quarter. We're in September, and once we go to October, it'll be the first month, it'll be the light green, so you can see how that works. And then December will be the last month of the quarter in Q4, and the darker pays the highest because most dividends for companies are paid in the last month of the quarter. We can see here the market value of the portfolio. Here's the cost basis, and this also accounts in drips, and we can see the gain or loss of the portfolio. Here's the current yield percentage average of the companies within my portfolio. Here's the yield on my cost average. And then here is the quarterly dividends, adding in all of the dividends that these quarterly payers pay, and also adding in O and BST an additional 2 times to get that 29.58.29. That's what this table is for, because on this sheet, O and BST are only counted once. So I have to account for those and then add them in 2 more times over here to get that 29.58. Then what I do is I divide it by 3 to get the monthly average kind of cash flow, a monthly paycheck, as it were. And we're at 98 or 986.10. This is going to change a little bit. We're also going to see the amounts for Lockheed Martin, the 496 and 729 are going to go up. And looks like I bought some Waste Management after the ex-dividend date. That's why it paid 704. But these amounts are going to go up as well as the Amgen 1333 and the Microsoft 633. So we're going to see those change. We're going to go over those really quickly, as well as the monthly cash flow average and quarterly and annual amounts. And if you're curious too, I have a strategy for this portfolio. Right now, I'm doing $200 deposits, one on Monday, which is today, and then on Fridays when I usually do it. And I pick 5 stocks and put $20 into each of those. And my strategy is all dividends received, I'm just going to drip them right back into that company. And if a dividend is cut or suspended by a stock, I will sell it. And my strategy is a buy and hold investor. I haven't sold a stock for quite some time, so I'm just adding to the portfolio. Really close on the goals here with like SCHD. We're at 1180 shares, so just need another 20 more shares of SCHD. I think that dividend reinvestment I do here after tomorrow is going to get me another 10 shares or so. And then my net worth really close to the 1.75 million. And then 2,000 shares of BST getting close there too as well. And this ties into the 2,000 shares with having BST paying a $500 a month dividend. And I'm also tracking like the high water marks of VTI, which is Vanguard's total stock market index. We're at all-time highs here, as well as SCHD. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go over to the Average Joe M1 portfolio. We're going to grab some data from the Holdings tab. We're going to paste this into this sheet to update those 4 positions where I did the 2 drips and the 2 buys. And it's going to change the number of shares, the cost basis, as well as average share price for those 4, which in turn is going to change the monthly cash flow average and then the next new dividends for those positions. So I'll grab the data over here. Starting from the name column, it's going to be easy copy and paste. I don't have to type in the new amount of shares or the average share price, anything like that. It's going to put all this over here on the M1 data tab to grab the shares, cost, and average over here. Do a paste special, values only, and it's going to update those 4 positions automatically. And we go over here and we can see we've already changed the monthly cash flow average to 986.29. 986.10 was the old one. It also changed the quarterly and annual as well. But let's go take a look at the 4 positions. And we've got Amgen now up to 1381. This will be the next December dividend for Amgen, but in December, Amgen usually has a dividend increase, so probably 6% or so is going to be added on top of this 1381 for that dividend payment. So we will see. And then next up, actually, I may be wrong on that. I think it's going to be probably announcing in December for the March 2025 dividend, so I take that back. So probably 1381 there for Amgen, and then Microsoft in December as well is going to be 639. I was at 570, but I had an event where Microsoft did a 10% dividend increase, and as well as buying these fractional shares. So it's moved up ever so slightly because Microsoft has a 0.78% dividend yield, quite low, but they like to raise it, so that's a good thing. Let's take a look at these dividend reinvestments with Lockheed. It added 2 cents to the next dividend, and Lockheed pays a 2% dividend, but look at that share price. So the 4.96 did increase a little bit, so move the needle a tiny bit. And then Waste Management, I did some a buy of a fractional share, so this is not all because of dividend drips here. So we're going to go from 704 to 732 at the end of December for Waste Management. I want to take this value here, the 986.29. We're going to take this to the monthly average dividend tracking tab. So 986.29. See if I can memorize that before we get to the bottom here. There we go, 986.29. And the event was a $100 deposit. And then Lockheed and Waste Management dividend drips. And this added to my monthly income by 19 cents. And that's 19 cents going forward. That's every month going forward, not just a one time of 19 cents in dividend income. And then tomorrow, it's going to be great to wake up to these dividends from all these companies, especially with SCHD and BST. I'm expecting just from those two alone about over $1,300 just for those two, and I've got those other ones coming in too. So it's gonna be neat to see those rolling in, and then the dividend drip as well. We're gonna see that really move the needle much more than 19 cents. So we're gonna start with the new amount, the 986.29, but it's gonna move the needle a lot more. It's gonna be several dollars. At least it's gonna be about $3 for BST and at least a couple dollars more for SCHD and all these added together. So we'll see what that is. I'll show you. You'll see that amount on Friday when I do my next video for those 5 buys at $20 a piece. So let's jump on over to the dividend tracker tab. On this tab, I track the portfolio value as well as the dividends paid, quarterly dividends, and also the increase in dividends, and also the average monthly dividend and gains and annual, as well as deposits. I've been doing these videos since January 2021. Here is a starting portfolio value, and you can see as we progress in time, we are much higher than that, and we're over the $200,000 mark. And this is the current value rounded to the nearest $100. We're at 264, 600 currently. And here's the dividends paid so far. And then here's what we've been paid so far in Q3. We're not even close to being done because we get those big dividends tomorrow. Here's the average monthly dividend at $986.29 now. We're off $20.01, and that's because of SCHD's lower dividend from the prior quarter. But that dividend was higher than what it was, a dime higher than it was from last year. So this drop is kind of deceptive, but it's going to be temporary because in December it's going to shoot way above the last high water mark at 1,630. And we can see the annual dividends now are at 11,835.52, and it decreased again because of SCHD. And then we are still in the month of November, so there's my deposits right there at $900. This will be the last deposit for September. And then tomorrow I'll start a new line, October 2024, and this will just become a locked value. Whatever we end the month in, rounded to the nearest $100, and we'll start this all over. And I don't know if in October we can get it above that $1,000 mark, but we're sure going to try. And then we've already went over that. So to close this out, we're going to go to the total net worth statement. And like I said before, the M1 portfolio, this is about 15% of my net worth. And we'll take a look at the other things I'm invested in or my other assets. At Vanguard, I have an IRA, a Roth brokerage account, as well as a taxable brokerage account. We can see these are just in boring ETFs. These are indexes like the S&P 500 or VTSAX. You hear this a lot in the financial independence retire early community. And VTSAX is just like VTI. VTI is the ETF version of the mutual fund version of VTSAX. I've retained VTSAX because I don't want to sell it as a taxable event, just keeping it there in where it is right now, because some people will say just move it to VTI, but I'm not going to do that right now. So as you can see, though, it's all, again, in boring ETFs, no individual holdings there. And then this is my current employer 401k in an Fidelity S&P 500 index, so more ETFs here. And then over here at M1, I also have a IRA, and this is my prior employment to this, and this is my current employer from March of about 2020, and this is my prior employment beginning in 1996 when I first opened up a 401k. And then over here, this is the value of the M1 taxable stock brokerage account, which we went over at length at 264,609. And here's my savings rounded to the nearest $100 over an M1, earning 4.5%. Synchrony's also paying 4.5%. I was moving money over to M1 because they had 5%, and then of course the Fed cuts the interest rates, and M1 promptly reduced their savings rate to 4.5%. I want to see what Synchrony does if they drop theirs below the 4.5. So far, the last time I checked, they haven't done it, but we'll see. Capital One, they were at 4.25, but I think they're at 4.1, so they dropped it. So I may have a little bit less money here. We'll see. And here is my home value. And then here's my current credit card balance. But this is not a balance I carry over. I just pay it off once a month, so I don't pay any interest on this. So I'm going to pay this off probably within the next couple days. But for sure, this week, the credit card is due October 9th, and I like to pay it at least 3-4 days in advance. But I put this in here as one of my liabilities. And then the other liability is my mortgage below the 180 mark. And I mentioned this before, I may be selling this taxable brokerage account. You can see which is slightly higher than 181,871 is higher than my mortgage, but I have I'll have taxes to pay on this, and I calculated what the crossover amount would be, and it's about $190,000. And once the value of this gets to 190, I think I'm going to sell it and then pay off my house, and then the 190 will pay for the taxes as well. It'll pay off the house and the tax bill. So right at 190 is that crossover point, and I feel really comfortable doing that. Hopefully it happens in 2025, so then I don't have to worry about the taxes, until the next year after. But I could do it this year too if it does go that high. Probably not likely, but we'll see. But here's my current net worth. Remember, one of my goals was to be at 1.75 million in my 2024 goals, and I'm pretty close to that. So off by about 15 grand, but who knows? This is really it's a roller coaster ride because most of my net worth is in stocks. 86.5% of it is, and then 8% home equity, and then 5.5% cash. So this much is pretty much about 13.5% is pretty steady, but this is a roller coaster ride here. So, and then here it is broken down by my pre-tax 401k IRA pretty much, and then 39% is after tax. And a lot of people get caught in what's called the middle class trap, and that is having all your money in home equity and your retirement, your 401k. And if you're not 59 and a half years old, or you don't sell your house, what you really can't do much with that. It doesn't give you a whole lot of freedom. That's why I recommend having a taxable brokerage account, and so you have the leverage to pay off a house or something like that, or have a huge down payment. And that's why I have this taxable brokerage account also here, and a lot in savings to help. If I want to make a big move, I can do so with all this cash, or if I need, I like to have over a year's expenses in cash as well. So you can see here how my net worth too, starting in November 2022, how it's gone way up from 1.284, and we're now at over 1.7. We haven't closed the books on September. What I'll do is when I get my total net worth tonight at the close of the stock market, I will take this over. It'll be approximately 1,735,700 rounded to the nearest hundred, but we're not close. We don't know what the market could do in the next hours. Could go up, could go down. So that's pretty much all I had to show you for this video. We'll go back to the activity log. We'll see those 2 drips and 2 buys. So again, the drips are right here with Lockheed and Waste Management, but I chose Amgen and Microsoft. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these choices, and also let me know what you're thinking of buying this week. Thanks everybody for sticking to the end of this video. If you got value from it, please click the like button. Also subscribe so you do not miss future videos. I'm going to be doing my recap of all my monthly dividends, and it's going to include not just my dividend portfolio, but it's